Something I've been noticing on my daily jogs that relates to the way the world is changing, the way that we live on this good green earth, and the way that we navigate a pandemic together, is that every single thing is connected. Usually when I'm out for a run, I'm kind of focused on myself. But something lately has seemed to change where things I didn't used to notice have become more visible and noticeable to me. I can hear birds more than I used to because the streets are quiet. There's a fountain in a neighbor's yard. I can hear the water moving more than it used to when the cars would drown out the noise. I can hear children laughing in backyards, playing when school is out in between lessons at home. Things seem more alive, even in the quiet. Something I've noticed on those regular jogs now is that as I move past people carefully being 6 or 10 feet away, as I move around them on the sidewalk or on a trail, is that I can tell in their eyes something is there that didn't used to be. As I run past someone, suddenly I'm paying more attention to how they're doing. Who's wearing a mask over their face and who isn't? Who looks as if they're moving through the world like nothing at all has changed, and who has fear in their eyes? I didn't used to pay attention like that. Maybe I should. I'm a minister. But not until the past few weeks have I looked into the eyes of my neighbors that I encounter, even walking on the other side of the street, and wonder, how are you? I notice the weather more than I used to. The temperature when I'm out for a walk or a run, I notice whether the skies are blue or cloudy more than ever. Everything has taken on a new shape. And in this time, I see pictures from across the world where rivers and streams that used to be polluted by traffic and boats are now running clear. Pictures of U.S. cities whose skies used to be filled with smog that made colored clouds and are now clear at night. Something so small, a virus, something that isn't even technically alive, has impacted the color of the water and the skies. We are not in control. This week, as we approach the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, we mark a promise and a commitment that humans around the globe made to take care of the world that we share together. And it is a good commitment, and as human beings will do, we have fallen short time and time again on that promise. Activists and environmentalists and eco-theologians like Michael Dowd, who will be with us this week in programs, have talked about what it means to ground our very spiritual relationship in the creation we inhabit. To not see God as some entity that is outside all of the world we live in, completely foreign to us, but living and moving and breathing in this world, in the trees, in the flowers, in the plants, in the soil, and also in us. Michael often talks about living in nested realities, kind of like those Russian nesting dolls. The idea that the universe is humming and alive and vibrant on every level, atoms and cells, animals and plants and ecosystems and stars and galaxies, and there is something holy in every single bit of it. And that is beautiful. But what it also means is that we are inhabiting and relating to a reality that is much more powerful and beyond all our knowing or control, that may not, while it cares and loves for us, be within our control at all. One of my favorite passages in the Bible comes from the book of Exodus when Moses approaches the burning bush. I know a lot of you are familiar with that story. He walks up to the God Yahweh being evident in a burning bush in that miracle, and then in an act that ancient Near Easterners would have known could control a god, knowing the God's name. Moses steps up to the burning bush and asks the God Yahweh, "What's your name?" And in one of my favorite passages in all of the Bible, God responds to Moses in the Hebrew saying, "I am what I am." Also translated as, I will be what I will be, I was what I am, and I am becoming what is. It's a vague statement, but what it says to this human being trying to control nature and God itself through knowing, God turns to Moses and says, I'm not even going to tell you my name. I am what I am. I am beyond your knowing and control. To be grounded as a human being on this earth in this time, where we're in lockdown in our houses, where we're taking precautions to stay safe so that we don't get sick or infect others, we are reminded more than ever, maybe in my lifetime, that we human beings are less in control than we would ever want to believe. Something so small, something not even technically alive, this virus, a reminder that for all of our goodness and power, all of our inspiration, all the impact we can make on the world and technology, we can leave this earth and come back. And yet, something so small reminds us that our fragility has been here the entire time. Not being in control is not the worst thing that can happen. It's the thing that's always been true to begin with. But this is a reminder of that fact. Usually in my life, when I'm thinking about Earth Day in awe and grandeur, me being out of control in a beautiful way, it's often big things that remind me of that. A huge waterfall, a redwood that towers over me, the stars and the galaxy, the sun and the moon remind me that in the big scope of things, I am so very small. And now it's something we can't even see with our eyes. Something so little that reminds us we are so little ourselves. There's plenty to be afraid and anxious about in these moments for sure. But when I remember how little in control I am, when I remember that the sun rises and shines on all of us no matter who we are, when I remember that the rain falls on us no matter who we are, when I remember that my very life has been fragile since its beginning and yet we are still here today, it reminds me that almost every single thing is grace. The trees that tower over us, the warmth of the sun that we could never earn, the beating of our hearts that continues no matter what we have said or done in a day. Whether we are proud or humble, it is all grace. This virus, just like the power of the earth, is universalism writ large. It says we are all in this together, our fates are tied together, and we belong to one another deeply. It doesn't even just put us in touch with other humans who are alive right now, it puts us in touch with the human experience going back hundreds and thousands of years. People have dealt with strange and unforeseen infections. People have dealt with natural disasters. People have faced the fragility of their lives for thousands of years, and we join them in the recognition that all is grace and also fragile. In some words that Reverend Dowd prepared for us this week, he said that in these moments when our fragility is writ large and so available to us, we're called more than ever to speak to what truly matters to one another. That if you love someone, now is the time to say it, as if it wasn't always the case. That when you love someone and our fragility is so visible to us, now is the time to say it. If you care about a cause, now is the time to support it. If you have a vision and creativity, now is the time. It is time for critical, clarifying conversations and to focus on what truly matters. We are not in control. And we are not gods by ourselves, no matter what we humans would like to believe sometimes. And yet still we are all held by a loving God and all participating in the holy together. We are not in control and we are not all powerful, and yet our actions make a difference and we are impactful just the same. How we move and operate on this planet does control the weather itself. We are not in control of everything, but our lives make a difference. This week, I listened to an interview with the relationship specialist and counselor, Esther Perel, and she said that in this time, even those people who are isolated and alone in their homes, there's still a way to connect online, volunteer online, make a difference for your neighbors. She said, even if you don't feel loved, someone needs you. Even if you don't feel loved, someone needs you. How can all these things be true at the same time? We are not in control, and yet our lives matter very much. We did not create the earth and the moon and the stars, and it is all grace, and we are called to give it back. We are not gods alone, and yet we are held, all of us, in the arms of love. And even those of you who may not feel love right now are needed desperately in this world. So in this moment, on this Earth Day, reminded of the grandeur of nature, in this moment where we are reminded of our fragility, you cannot do everything, but you can do something. As Richard Rohr states, you can humbly and proudly return what you've been given. You can pause every day and give thanks for life itself. No matter where you are or who you are, you can do something to assist and love a neighbor. And you can give thanks under the warm skies. You can tell the people you love that you love them. And in your own way, continue building heaven on earth in all the days we have. For this life, this gift, the chance to be alive and give thanks, we give thanks. Amen.